Hey, I'm Stephanie Hunt. Welcome to the Cult of Flair, where I chat with creators from all walks of life about the meaning of personal style, fearless individuality, unexpected paths, and insights into finding your flair. Alongside my in-depth interview series, you'll also find snackable short episodes. I do love my snacks. I call these my Flair on the fly. I'll be serving up tips, musings, or insightful nuggets designed to expand your knowledge and to share the flair. Welcome to the Cult of Flair. I'm Stephanie Hunt, also known as the Flairhunter, and today my guest is Janet Gunn. I feel so lucky to have you. A Los Angeles-based social media content creator and lifestyle influencer, and so much more. Janet is inspired by a lifetime of unique experiences, including sharing her flair in the air as a flight attendant long ago, performing as a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, a Hollywood actress, and a director. Her most recent endeavor is Everyone is Doing Great on Hulu, which I can't wait to see.
Apple TV now.
Oh, Apple TV and Hulu? Mm-hmm. All of this means she's perfectly qualified for this podcast since she truly embodies that flair factor. Janet is passionate about encouraging other women to feel inspired, ageless, and stylish at any age. And I'm proud to also call her my friend. Welcome, Janet.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My
I'm so
gosh,
excited. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to share the couch.
So fun. There's so many things to talk to you about, so we might have to talk really quickly,
I know.
Leah will have a part 2, like chapter 2, chapter 10 of Janet.
Exactly. So
okay,
exciting.
you like many women and like most people, probably all people, have had so many evolutions and pivots along the way, and inspiring and entertaining stories to tell and share. I started following you long ago on Instagram at Janet Gunn Grateful Gardenia, and I just found and still believe that you are that unicorn mix of lovely without being like, oh my gosh, she drives me crazy, like some social media influencers, content creators can be, and just really inspirational, aspirational, all the things. So I want you to, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little Cliff Notes version, the thumbnail of how a girl born and raised in Texas and who became a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader ended up in Hollywood as an actress and content creator.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that because I know it's a fine line with influencing and
it is
plus over 50, over 60. It's
right. And I hate to say
so
like not being cringy and like, you know, that's like such a, anyway.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel cringe.
You're not.
Okay. Well, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
I grew up pretty much riding horses. I was a barrel racer.
I forgot
I was in
that,
gymnastics.
which makes you even cooler.
And in order to do
that's so badass, barrel racing.
I had to work in the stable. So I had to clean everybody else's horses.
Wow.
In order to keep, my mom and dad's like, you got to work there.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
You got to pay. If you're going to pay for it, you got to work.
Absolutely.
You gotta, do your thing, pay your dues. So I loved the whole rodeo scene and barrel racing, and it was super fun. My horse's name was Cricket, and she was
like my
really
dog's name. I forgot about that. Which also makes you fearless. My sister was a rodeo queen and was a barrel racer and all that. Like, I would think that could even contribute to future things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was always raised around horses.
Mm-hmm.
My grandpa, Shorty Papa, was 4'11", and he and his cousin Jazzbo were the original rodeo clowns. So they started it. So,
I have forgotten this. You had told me that long ago, and that is so. I need a photo. Like that's amazing.
So I have a photo.
I have to see.
And so he and Jazzbo, they would paint their faces. They would be in the overalls with the red bandana and the white shirt and the hat, the goofy hat.
What
hid
year
in
or decade?
Well, this was the 30s, 40s.
30s. Okay.
Yeah. And they would get inside the barrels. So when the cowboy was, the bull rider came out and was bucked off in order to defer the bull away from the rider.
Right.
They were the guys who were waving the flag and jumping in the barrels.
And it's like performing is maybe in your DNA.
Yeah, I think so. And
I've never thought about that.
I spent so much time with him. But so besides that, he and my grandmother, Jackie, they used to flip burgers for Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
you need to write a memoir someday.
And he had he had a flea market. So every Sunday, and I used to drive around with him during the week in his Toyota pickup truck, the small
This
one,
is in Fort Worth?
and load up people's crap,
Oh my gosh.
other people's stuff.
And this is mom's dad or dad's
This is
dad?
my dad's dad.
Okay.
My dad's dad. And all of my father and his 2 brothers, super educated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere near like a rodeo clown. I'm
But
probably the closest goof in the family, on both sides.
which again, like, I like that you are a very serious person and that you take your craft very seriously, but you also have this just sense of silliness and joy that comes
Yeah.
out through whatever you do. So I do think that that's a beautiful thing to be able to celebrate that balance.
Well, thank you. I always credit my, papa for that. I think I kinda have his spirit, but I used to work with him every Sunday at the flea market,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
right in the stockyards. I
Yeah.
literally grew up in the stockyards. My mom and dad met when they were, like, I wanna say, like, 12 or 13,
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah.
They knew each other for a long time. So I used to work at the flea market, and I loved it. It was really
It's
fun.
amazing.
And then I just spent so many Sundays with him, even when I was a flight attendant. I bid my trips, so I would land by noon, and
Right.
then I would drive because I lived in Dallas, and then
Uh-huh.
I would drive to Fort Worth just so I could go,
Right.
to the Pink Poodle,
Okay.
and his
What is
best
that?
that is a burger joint, and his best friend's name was Slim. Slim was 6'2".
It's just
So there's Papa, who's
yeah.
4'11", and there's Slim, who's 6'2".
Oh my gosh.
And that's who I would have Sunday, fried chicken sandwich with.
And talk about flair. Like,
Yeah.
that is the definition of flair and your background. The fact that you're so humble that I'm sure when I say all these things, it makes you, like, uncomfortable, but I'm gonna say them anyway. You present as just, like, the epitome of sophistication, head to toe, always so stylish, so much flair. And then you have these roots that are just down home country, so interesting. Like,
Yeah,
such an example that everybody has a story, and maybe some
yeah,
people's stories are more interesting than others.
yeah,
I love your
it's fun.
story, however you wanna tell it, if you wanna tell it, about becoming a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, because
Mm,
I think even that is a really interesting one.
yeah, but also I grew up, I was a gymnast and I was a dancer, because my mom and dad both worked,
Yeah,
and, they were 17 and 18 years
right.
old
I forgot
raising a
about that.
kid.
Yeah.
And so those sports were horseback, like the barrel racing and gymnastics and ballet, and, that was my babysitter.
Yeah.
That's who took care of me.
Right.
That's where I was
Right.
until somebody came to pick me up.
Right. Like summers and after school and
Yeah.
all of
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, "Off you go," which
Right.
is great.
I
I
know,
loved it. I
exactly. You
don't
weren't staring at a TV and you're
Oh,
not there
no,
was no
none of
such thing as
that.
social media
None of that
or the
going
internet
on.
way back when.
Yeah. Well, I love Gilligan's Island.
Oh, I love Gilligan. Those are
Oh
some
my
of my
god.
best
The
childhood TV
Jetsons, but
memories.
this is like Saturday stuff,
Yeah.
when I was
Right.
allowed
And
to
there were
watch
3
TV.
channels.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, when I found out that there were auditions, I just decided to audition. I, I was 18, but I wasn't out of high school.
Mhm.
And you had to be 18, out of graduated, either married or had a job
Mhm.
or a mother.
'Kay.
So I just decided to check the box that said, "Yes, graduated."
Okay.
And after a series of auditions and putting together my routine, my mom cleaned out the garage. We put in mirrors, just so I could, practice on everything that was,
Mhm.
required for us to do for our auditions. And I think there were like 4 or 5 rounds, and then I got it.
Were you shocked?
Yeah, I was shocked. And I was like, "Uh-oh,
Now what do you do?
uh-oh." But I was really there was one other gymnast, and but I think because, but I was a power gymnast
Mhm.
at the time. So there wasn't really anyone else that,
Like, the rest
was a
maybe
gym
could
yeah.
dance,
The
but
rest of the cheerleaders
you could do all
were
the technical.
gorgeous and beautiful. I mean, like, really voluptuous women,
Right.
right? And then here comes me, this kind of, like, little,
Like a
uh,
little sprig. You're
pale
like a
cat,
slip of a thing.
tomboy,
Right, tomboy.
throwing
The barrel
flips.
racer. That's
Yeah,
right.
and a singer and a dancer,
Right.
so it all worked.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my mother would drive me to the practices and park down the way so no one would see her, and then
Mhm.
I could do my homework in the
Mhm.
back of the car.
And how many
Or
years did you do this?
I only did it for 2.
Yeah.
I only did
But
it for
that's
2
still,
because
like
you had to have a job,
okay.
and so I could only do it for 2 years, and then I went to, right out of that, one of the other cheerleaders, she's probably one of the most famous one. Her name is Von Sil Baker, and she's went to be a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines.
Okay.
And so she said, come be a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. I'll
Mhm.
get you an interview. It's like, okay,
Okay.
sure. I need a
Right.
job. Yeah. And so I went, I had my interview. I sat down with this very cool woman who headed up all the hires, for the
Mhm.
flight attendants and ran the show. And I sat in her office for like an hour and we just chit chatted. And I got up, thank you very much. And she said, as I'm walking out, when can you start? Because she was very like, I loved her.
Sassy.
Diane, Diana. And I said, whenever. She said, okay, we have a class coming up in 2 weeks.
Oh
And
my
so you'll be in
gosh.
that class. I'm like, thank you. And I did that for about 9 years.
And that's what brought you to LA, right? Is that how you
Well,
ended
I
up
wouldn't
here?
say it allowed me to come here
Okay, got it.
and keep my job
Got it.
as a flight attendant, uh, base myself in Houston at the time because there wasn't an LA, base.
Right.
And so what I did is I went to acting classes
Mhm.
and so I was able to do that. Like
Yeah.
I was able to fund my life and, do that and go to classes. But I think what really sparked it is that the second year when I was a cheerleader, there was an audition for Love Boat.
Mhm.
Remember the Love Boat?
Were you on the Love Boat?
Yeah.
Stop it right
So
now. That
all
was my other
36 of
obsession growing up.
us,
Love
all
Boat and Fantasy
36
Island.
of us had to audition for David Cassidy's girlfriend. And
I'm
I
dying.
carried him on my lunchbox. You probably did too. Like
Absolutely.
the posters,
Yes.
Partridge Family and
Yes.
stuff.
This is the '70s.
Yeah. So, and I got it. So I got the lead for Love Boat. There were, I think, 10 of us that came out. Um, when Norman Lear
Mhm.
was, still alive, he just passed away, I think.
I think he did
I
too.
think
I
he
feel like
was,
that
yeah,
sounds
his late
familiar.
90s, I
Yeah.
feel like.
Wow.
He might have been 100.
I
I
don't know, but
wonder.
he lived a really long life, and it was
Yeah.
definitely recent, the
Yeah.
passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was just in awe of the whole situation, like
Right.
being there and being with David Cassidy. And I remember telling him, I was like, you were on my lunch kit. And he looked at me like,
It's so
but
good.
and one day I remember Jodie Foster coming and sitting on the set because she was filming a movie next to the same studio where The Love Boat was filmed.
And I could see how for anybody, I mean, I have friends who grew up here and still were awed by that whole scene, but
Yeah.
for a little girl growing up in Fort Worth, Texas, as a
Yeah.
barrel racer and gymnast and so much more to suddenly not sudden because you worked for it, but, like,
Yeah.
to suddenly find yourself in this environment with these
Yeah.
people who you've seen on your TV, that
Yeah.
would just be incredible.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really cool, but it was that moment because they're telling me you should come to Hollywood. Like, you should move out to California.
Right,
You should be an actress. Now, at the time I'm 19,
right.
so what got me motivated, I guess, was I I just started thinking about why not? Why sure, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Right,
But it took me about 7, 8 years to get out here, to
right,
move out here.
right.
But then once I did, it was right before I turned 30 that I moved out here. I just got lucky and everything fell into place. I mean, I was just one of those that had the timing was right
Mhm.
and I got jobs.
Yeah.
And after a year of solid acting class and flying and I got my first series.
And what was the series?
And it was Lee Horsley Guns of Paradise.
Okay.
It was a Western.
It was a
It
Western.
was a
You're merging
Western.
all your worlds,
It
like the
merging
West and
all my
yeah,
worlds,
that's
and so
amazing.
it just, like, one job morphed into the next, and it was 17 years straight of,
Yeah,
nonstop work,
it's
nonstop
incredible.
work, yeah, I got lucky. It's different now, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the industry is different.
I mean, you say you got lucky and I know, but I also think attitude, don't you think? And
Yeah,
saying yes to things, even
yeah,
if you're not sure where it's gonna lead, and
yeah,
then hard work and all
yeah,
the rest of it.
yeah.
What would you say some of your greatest challenges were and rewards being an actress?
I think that the greatest challenge that I had, I think about that, it's like, I never looked my age.
Mhm.
So I would constantly, be called to be a mother,
Right,
like mother, because I just couldn't. I couldn't pull it off. Like at the
right.
time,
Like, you
I
could have been the
wasn't,
age to be a mother, but it wasn't believable
but I
because you looked
wasn't
so
the
young.
generic
Okay.
at the time,
Yeah.
back in the 90s.
Yes.
I was not the stereotypical
Mom.
mom.
Right.
And so I think
That would be frustrating.
it was frustrating because I went on mom auditions all the time,
Okay.
all the time. And it just didn't, it never
Right. What ab
until this recent project, the Hulu Apple TV project.
and what would you say the most being reflective, unexpected rewards have been?
The unexpected rewards working with Roger Moore.
Okay.
Like, that was I feel like after I spent 3 months in Thailand with him
Oh,
on a
wow.
film, and his wife, Christina, who I adore. Unfortunately, Roger, passed away, I feel like 5 or 6 years ago,
Mhm.
which means it's probably 10 years ago.
Right, I know, 'cause time goes by so
Um,
quickly.
but being in his presence and becoming a friend, I was in his last book he wrote. We became very good friends, and he's beyond what you could even
Right,
imagine.
right.
Like, he was James Bond.
Oh my gosh.
He was James Bond,
Yeah.
and he was
I bet you have
generous.
amazing photos.
I do,
Yeah,
and
I hope
he
you
was
do.
elegant, and he was wonderful, and he was happy, and he just was embraced, like, every crew member had a purpose, right? And it wasn't there to serve you.
Right,
It was teamwork
right.
to make
Toward
the
this greater
project
good
great.
of this project.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really fantastic. We became so close too that we always emails, like, our exchange was email and faxes.
Faxes,
Yeah,
so this had to be
yeah.
then late '80s?
No, this was '90s.
'90s, okay.
'90s,
Yeah, I'm thinking like when fax was the mode
yeah.
of communication, I remember that.
And then when Luca so I'm married and I have a son, Luca, and he's 21 now, and the 3 of us were in, the south of France, and Luca and his buddies were all watching James Bond. So I had, talked to, Roger before, and I said, "You're gonna meet James Bond. Like, we're gonna go there, and we're gonna go meet at the Column d'Or,
I
that
know.
hotel."
Okay.
Fabulous place, and so we rented a car, and we drove, and we had, a lovely afternoon or late lunch, with, Roger and his wife.
I mean, just the fact that your son had that
Yeah,
experience and that memory and was
yeah,
old enough to be able to
yeah,
actually, like, tell the stories continue to tell the story, tell his dying day.
yeah, yeah.
So
So that
you're
was a great perk. That was one of my best moments ever. I felt like I could stop working after that.
right.
Yeah.
Your project now, you have so many projects, but the one that you referenced is now on Apple, and it's
Yes.
Is it Hulu and Apple?
It's Hulu, and I think it's still available, and I'm not for sure, but I know it's on Apple, streaming on Apple right now,
Okay.
and it's such a great story. These brothers, they're called the Nelms brothers,
Okay.
and, they, so Ian, one of the brothers, he was Luca's swim teacher when Luca was not even 1 year old,
Mhm.
and I said to him one day, I said, "So are you trying to build out your swim coach business? What exactly, is this what you want to do? And what's your dream?" And he goes, "No, I want to be a movie producer. I want to write scripts and, et
Did you
cetera
kinda
one
roll your
day."
eyes like, "Oh my god, everyone in LA has a script," or no, you were
No,
supportive?
I wasn't jaded
Okay.
really because he could be me.
That's true, you can see it from a different
It was
side.
like me saying "Yeah, I'm gonna go out to Hollywood and be an actress." And
Right.
people are like, all right, good luck with
It
that."
is interesting that people that are like, "Oh, it's so hard." It makes me mad. I'm like, "Just encourage
Yeah,
people with a dream and"
yeah, because
yeah.
I think when you have a dream and
Yes.
it excels and exceeds, it's easy for people. I mean, when I hear people that say, "I wanna do this," it's like, "Do it.
Absolutely,
Go
try
do it."
it. Absolutely.
So, anyway, and then he asked me, long story short, if I wanted to read something he'd written. I said, "For sure." So the next time he comes over to teach Luca, I read it and I was like, "Ian, this is good.
You've got something here.
This is good."
Yeah.
So several years from there, he came to me and he said, "We just got our project funded. Would you like
It
to be
actually
in
gives
it?"
me chills. Like you're at swim practice one day when
Yeah,
this conversation takes place
yeah,
to cut to 7 years
yeah.
later.
And actually I introduced him to a few people that
Mhm,
invested
mhm.
and made the project work. Um, they are anyway, so yeah, I did it, and then I did this other project.
And what
In
is
this
your
project,
Oh,
I play the lead's mother.
so the one that you're referencing, is that the show Everyone is Doing Great? Or that's
Yes,
okay,
that's what's going yep, and this other
okay,
one was called Lost on Purpose.
okay.
Yeah. So this one was super fun,
But you'd
and
taken a break from a lot of the acting and roles when you were in
oh,
your younger years,
oh,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
I pretty much stopped working when Luca was born, and then when he was about 2, I did a reoccurring on, the remake of The Fugitive,
Okay.
um, which with Tim
Now I
Daly, and
need
then
to
I
go
did
back and
another
watch all
Tim
your
Daly
shows. Like, can we
show.
see all of these somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, everything
Okay.
kinda like I still get
Well, obviously
rerun
the new one, right?
checks.
Or not new, but the current
Yeah.
one.
Um, yeah, so they're doing fantastic. This was an improv. This movie, this series, on Apple TV, everybody's doing great, was improv. So they give you it's like the Larry David Show. They give you certain, points that you need to hit, and then you just work it out. Like,
I think that
it's
would
just
make
all
me so
improv.
nervous, like, just
I
the
loved
yeah,
it.
if you could well, obviously, you can do this, and you have so much experience. If you could just get out of your head
Yeah.
and feel like you're just
Yeah.
having a conversation with your friends,
Yeah.
but otherwise, I think it would feel like such pressure knowing that
Yeah.
there's cameras on you and you have to do all of this. Oh my
Yeah, it
gosh.
was quite exhilarating. I hadn't had butterflies like that in a long time,
Right,
but it was a good kind of butterflies,
right.
it wasn't the, "Oh god, I'm not I'm not good enough." It wasn't
It
that
wasn't that.
kind of butterfly feeling, it was a very
Like,
exciting
this is an
feeling.
exciting opportunity.
Yeah,
I
and plus
even
I
love
knew
what
that these they're the way they work, is they work with their friends, and it is an insulated, fabulous group of supportive people, so
Mhm.
no one's gonna let you fail.
Okay,
It's
I
one of
love that.
those, yeah.
Back to even the feeling of butterflies, I feel like I've listened to a couple of podcasts recently. One is Mel Robbins, can't remember the other
Mm.
one, where I love that it's been articulated and figured out that the same part of your brain that experiences nerves or the same whatever, if it's the center, if it's the hormones, whatever it is, the same area and feeling of nerves is actually also excitement.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you have a situation, which I'm laughing that I have a podcast and now I occasionally get to do little local live TV because I was a person who 10 years ago would avoid opportunities to even be on a board because the
Yeah.
idea of standing up, I can talk to a cactus, I can talk to 30 people, but if I have to stand up with everybody staring at me, I find that terrifying. But just to be able to then go, maybe what I'm feeling isn't terror, it's excitement.
Yeah.
If you can sort of give yourself a little talking to, it
Yeah.
does change things.
It changed things, and then it's you always just, like, ask for a little guidance before you speak with people,
Absolutely.
just, like, if you can just remember to be an open vessel,
Yeah,
and then things become a little bit more authentic.
right.
Anything in life, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Anything in life.
Talk to us
Yeah.
about your transformation, where you're still an actress, but from the more traditional acting roles to then becoming a social media and YouTube and TikTok and all of these other platforms. It's funny the word influencer. You are an influencer, but I feel like you're so much more. When I hear someone described as an influencer or someone describe themselves as an influencer, it almost seems a little bit limiting, or the
Yeah.
word has become so overused that it's like, "Oh, I'm an
Yeah.
influencer," where I feel like you are a creator, you embody flair, you inspire so many people. When you started with your amazing Instagram that I love, was it more at the time just like, "I'm going to start doing something to talk about gratitude?" Did you have a vision or did it just sort of evolve or both?
Um, it's I would say a little bit I no, it just evolved. I didn't really have a vision. What happened
It
is
wasn't a
that
grand master
Luca was at
plan.
camp. He decided to go to camp in Casco, Maine for a month, and I would walk by his room, and then I realized to myself, "Oh my god. I I need a job. Like,
Yeah,
I gotta
I
figure out
gotta
what
do
to do."
something.
I am not a ladies who lunch and
Yeah.
hang out. I'm just
You are.
not. I mean, it's not I need, like, to be
Mhm,
I need a job. I need to do
mhm.
something. And then so, of course, I thought, "Look, what am I good at?"
Yeah.
And so I started, Googling I'm good at fashion. I love fashion. I love editing. I love
Mhm,
acting. I love, storytelling.
mhm.
And when I was looking at the fashion magazines or trying to find people that, I felt like, at my age, because
Yeah,
I was 50 when I started
right.
that, and there weren't really there was maybe like 3 to 5
No,
women,
I
maybe
agree.
only 3 who were talking to their iPhones and they're 50 about what
Right.
to wear.
They really weren't. I feel like it was
There
all people
weren't.
in their 20s or young 30s or
Yeah.
teens, you know?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to have a meeting with one of the founders of Who What Wear,
Mhm.
Catherine Powers.
Okay.
And I sat in her office and I said, I just can't find anyone that besides Lauren Hutton,
Right.
besides
Who's
Diane
just
Keaton,
icon. Both of those people, just such icons.
I couldn't find anyone else who
Right.
really, I love their fashion, or
Mhm.
I feel like,
Their
maybe it was just all
style.
label, or And it just that didn't speak to me either,
Right.
right? Um, so I, had a meeting with her in her office, and I said, "There's no content. There's no, nothing for women 50 plus." She goes, "I know." And brands are beginning to call her,
Mhm.
she said, to say, "Well, what do you got for the women like 40 plus, 50
Mhm.
plus?" But that was it. There was no 60 plus.
Wow.
So she literally gave me a story about it was more about, how I took care of my skin um, on one of their sister platforms called Birdie,
Okay.
which was great. And everything just started rolling from then. And then the Who
Okay.
What Wear, I worked with Kat Collins, who's fabulous, and Bobby Schuler, and they became my person for delivering stories. It's like, okay, deliver photos, deliver a story. I'm 50 and I would wear this. I wouldn't wear this. These are the jeans I like, etc.
Exactly.
So that's how I built a really authentic audience.
Which was exactly the word I was about to bring up because my whole thing with flair, which the definition of flair to me, which is a word that I know is also overused like influencer, but it really is someone with personal style and something different. And it isn't just trying to chase a trend.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you obviously give a lot of thought to staying authentic to who you are while staying relevant. And, I've never ever seen you double negative, not show up looking completely on trend, but it doesn't look like, oh, you're just wearing it because, you saw in a magazine that you're supposed to be wearing that right now. I feel like it's less about a certain piece of clothing than it is how you're putting together a whole outfit
Yeah.
and accessorizing it with jewelry or a scarf or talk to me about that. Like, have you always been that or is that something that has developed as you've gotten older?
Well, I didn't know I was always that, but my one of my best friends, her name is Sumi Goldmark, and she runs Emmy J Hair Ties. She runs that whole
Okay.
um, unbelievable. It's just like exploded. That was
Is that
developed in
embarrassing that
her
I don't even know
kitchen.
what that is? I'm gonna have to Google
No,
that.
because it's younger. It was her
Okay.
daughter.
I'm
It's
like,
her
I have no
daughter that they did it in her kitchen. So
Okay.
no, no. Um, and she's like, "You were always like that. You always did that. You would,
Yeah.
you would redress me." It's like you would.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that, but okay. Um, but I think what's important too is that I would look at certain people in magazines, and at the time I knew it's like I can't afford that, right?
Right.
But so I really went for the high and the low.
Mhm.
But I think mostly fashion is creativity.
Mhm.
It's
Absolutely it
like
is.
music.
Yes. It's art.
It's
When people
art.
say like, "Oh, you just like to go shopping." I'm like, "I really don't
No,
think it's about that." I actually don't like to shop, but I love beautiful things.
it's an
Like, it
expression.
feeds me, and putting an outfit together is its own form of artistry and
Yeah,
expression and creativity,
it's
like you're saying.
self-expression.
Yes.
Like I wear these when I saw these,
I know I
first of
want you to
all,
hold your foot up.
I
I don't think our audience
I work with this
on
company.
YouTube can see your pink sparkly shoes, which I'm obsessed with.
I work with this company. This is Madison Maison.
I was gonna say, is that
Okay.
who they are?
This was me tap dancing, when
Yeah.
I was a young
Right,
girl.
it's like a nod to your youth.
It's
Yeah.
ballet pink.
Yeah.
Not
And the
quite
heel
because it's a little darker.
and the heel height is so good.
Yeah,
Because
but
you can
it's
actually
this
wear them with as you have them styled with, like, boyfriend jeans and a
yeah,
blazer and a vintage
yeah,
concert tee, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So
But I
I
think it's important. I think no matter what, it's like I always, even and I try to answer all my DMs. I don't have anyone who runs my Instagram account.
but you have
I
hundreds of thousands of followers, so I would think that in itself could be a full-time job,
Yeah,
answering
yeah.
all your DMs.
But I love it when women reach out to me. Can you send me the link? Can you whatever? I
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I would want somebody to help me,
Absolutely, and I
right?
feel like in doing so, you are helping to inspire people in
Yeah.
our same age
Yeah,
demographic.
don't give up.
Don't give up, and if you can still, wear all these great things and put an outfit together, it's
Yeah.
teaching people
It's just you want, at a certain
and
point,
inspiring
you
people.
want a little something in your life.
Definitely.
And your fashion can be a fabulous expression of who you are and who you'd
Right.
like to become.
Well, and that was my next question, which was what does the flair factor mean to you? But I think you already articulated it. I would say like flair factor in my definition for you is really, I mean, you have so many different flair factors, but how you style an outfit. Like it's like a perfect snapshot today of this, like, someone could have easily put on like a t-shirt and a pair of jeans or a blazer and a pair of jeans. But the fact that you have like really cool
big chunky necklace and the sequin pink shoes and the concert tee, like
Yeah.
the whole thing.
I just say break rules. That's what I
Yes.
tell women. You
Yes.
gotta break rules.
Same.
Don't ever be the someone who says you can't wear that.
And just
You
because
have
you're
to cut your
over a
hair.
certain age,
Well,
I
you're
don't
certain
feel
yeah.
like
But
no,
I feel like we don't live in that world anymore. It's all
definitely not.
about finding your
Right?
joy.
And
I mean,
everything also is so visual now.
it's
Like, I mean,
so
I guess it's
visual.
always been, but now with people on camera and we see so much that I do feel like you're doing a really good job inspiring people in
Thank you.
our age demographic to kind of just be fearless and wear
Thank
what you
you.
love,
Thank you. I
which
do
which
not
is
talk
important.
or, promote anything that I do not use, that I do not believe in,
Right.
that I would not wear.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Right. I'm not even bringing that up, but like in your makeup tutorials, I took a picture I was going to text you of myself in Velcro rollers this morning because you taught me that. I'm like, wait, Janet taught me to bust out my old Velcro rollers
That's
from the
right.
80s. Not that I still have them, but I bought new ones after being in your bathroom with you. So I brought them here. Like, I feel
Oh
like
my
you do a
God.
great job of, back to just skincare and
Thank you.
nutrition and supplements or drinking water. It's really uplifting and inspiring.
Thank you.
And that's part of your goal, right? I
Oh,
mean, I
for
don't feel like
sure.
it's accidental.
I'm not stopping, and
No.
I am, I don't ever take for granted the Instagram social media platform either.
Mhm,
I don't, it's been incredible for me. I mean,
mhm.
it's been it's been a saver, it's been a real blessing,
Yeah,
you know? I mean, think about it. I just transformed my acting career into this,
absolutely.
and not everybody gets to do what they love.
No, and you know what? I love that perspective, and it's such a reminder because I don't know that you deliberately reinvented yourself because you are still using and playing off of your whole professional and personal history. But what kind of advice would you give other people who maybe are empty nesters now and kind of looking up, going like, "Well, huh, it's too late to reinvent myself," or "I want to reinvent myself, but I don't know how," or they feel
Yeah,
fearful or like, "Oh,
yeah.
it's too late." Like, I don't feel like that was ever part of your vernacular. What advice would you give to
No,
women?
I think it's very important to,
Men too, but really women.
yeah, yeah, you just have to think about what is your passion?
Mhm.
What is your passion? What are you really good at? I mean, the one thing that I do see, I've noticed a lot on TikTok is that you can work in a garden. You can make your own jams.
It's
You can
so
do
true.
anything you want. There
Mhm.
is an audience for
There is an
everything in this
It
world.
is so true, especially the accounts you accidentally stumble on, like
Yeah.
people making jam or
Yeah.
people making, like, little crocheted flowers that, like, snap onto jeans, which I
Yes.
just had a friend make for me because now I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Like, you really could take any of your passions,
Anything.
and whether you wanna monetize it or not, but just feel good about it and that you're educating other people
Yeah.
and teaching and inspiring, and
Yeah.
even I think as women being a role model for our young adult sons and
Yes,
daughters
exactly.
that I remember thinking that, my grandmothers or my mom were sort of like, "Oh, they're a mom and they're grandmothers and their kids are grown." It's now it always was, I just was young and dumb and didn't know it,
Yeah.
so much more. Like,
Yeah.
if we are the ages that we are,
Yeah.
50s, 60s,
Yep.
and we are fortunate enough to have 30 plus more years, God willing, knock on
Yeah.
everything around me. Like, look what we've done in the last 30 years. Imagine
Yeah.
what we could do in the next 30 without the
Exactly.
constraints of feeding kids at home and raising babies and all the rest, and with our wisdom and
Yeah.
life experience already.
Well, because it makes it enriches your life to do what you love and what makes you happy.
Right.
Joy,
Mhm.
I repeat that word over and over, but it really is a ginormous word.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
really is.
It's so
Yeah.
true. Um,
But don't give up on yourself.
no,
And
definitely
don't
not.
and I tell people too, it's it may sound easy to say that, don't care what other people think about you.
It's so true.
It's very hard to
It's
do,
it's really hard. I have to
you
give
know?
myself a little talking to at least once a week. I
Yeah.
just have to shut that out because if you listened to those voices or the worries about it, you wouldn't be doing the things that or and
Exactly.
every time you do something new, you're learning,
Yeah.
and that is an incredible
Yeah,
feeling.
and if you are educating, and if you are inspiring, and if
Yeah,
you're laughing and having fun, then you're entertaining.
right. Is there any one particular thing that you have been able to look back over the course of your life and go and so that you sort of surprised yourself with? Either, I didn't think I could do that and I did it, like me public speaking, which was like I would have a heart attack die before I did that. And then I did it, didn't die.
Yeah.
That's a really empowering feeling. Is there anything you can go over this like body of work, and you've raised a family and you have had all of this exposure and you've been a barrel racer and a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader? Like, do you kind of marvel, or do you go like, it all makes sense looking back?
Well, I don't know if it
I guess there was 3 questions in there. It was supposed to be 1, but you can answer any
Yeah.
part of that.
I don't know if it all makes sense. It's just, it reminds me when I reflect on my youth, is that anytime I was told I couldn't, or
Mhm.
and not that I was told I couldn't that much.
Anytime you believed you couldn't, maybe.
I don't think I ever not believed I couldn't do
Yeah.
anything. That was what it was.
That's so incredible, and
I
I feel
don't
like
think I
you're
ever
really
believed that.
fortunate, and maybe
Yeah.
your parents did something really right. I'm not saying my parents taught me that I couldn't. My parents were so encouraging, but still there was always this part of me that thought there was a whole bank of things that I
Yeah.
couldn't do. There still is. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't sew an outfit. I can't do that. But my friends who really say those words, like, I
Yeah.
just knew I could figure it out, so I figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you can give kids, for any
Yeah.
young listeners, viewers out there, if you can give your kids that feeling that they really can do anything,
Anything.
that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well,
That's
I
worth
know
gold.
I know this. I had incredible teachers.
Like school teachers or
I
just role
had
models along the way?
I wasn't into school. I
Yeah.
didn't do well at school. I'm not a
That
school
makes you more
person.
interesting.
People said, "Did you go to college?" I'm like, "Yeah, University of DCC." It's
Universe.
like, "What's that?" Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. That was my college for 2 years, and then I was gone.
I would like
And
how
that was a
yeah,
hell of an education, let me
that
tell
is a
ya,
hell of an education.
and a lot of discipline,
The
and a
discipline
lot of focus,
and real life, right?
and yeah.
Right.
I
That's a
mean,
great
it
point.
was like, are you kidding me?
You could
was
write an essay on that, like the
oh,
5 metaphors, or
it
the
was boot
metaphor
camp.
for life that the discipline of that taught you.
Beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
you can't even imagine. But yeah, I had great teachers. Like, I look at where my horse was kept. I look at my ballet teacher, my gymnastics teacher, even coming here, my acting coaches, my acting teachers, still the people that I took meditation from, my yoga teachers.
Right.
Like, I'm a student for life.
Right.
That's what I know I am.
Janet, one of my
I know I am.
favorite quotes ever. I don't even know where I read it, but I stumbled upon it and I think of it so often. If you have curiosity, you have the world.
Yeah.
And if you can just stay curious and interested in learning. My dad is 89.
Yeah.
Is he 88 or 89? Whatever. He's up there. But I love that he is so interested in things and will just Google it and become an
Yeah.
expert on something, or then call us and say like, Steffi, I did this and learned this. And I mean, and I know people in their 50s that just don't really care about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And please let me be the person in my 60s, 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
90s that still is curious about a lot of things.
Yeah. I think curiosity is always a key to longevity,
Yes, definitely.
you know?
So 2 additional questions, because I can't imagine, but maybe the
Mhm.
answer is yes. I look at you, and I've only known you for a handful of years, and I hear your stories, and I can't imagine you ever not looking like this, except for maybe the 13-year-old version of this. And I think of myself as like a 6th and 7th and 8th grader and think like, oh, poor sweet girl. Like, I had a full body back brace from chin to hip bones 23 hours a day for scoliosis. I may have had a bad home perm from my sweet mom because I wanted a Dorothy Hamill haircut, but I also wanted to look like Farrah Fawcett, and she thought she could solve both of those things together.
Mhm.
And I had a headgear and braces. Did you ever have an awkward stage? Or that you just like thought like, oh, I just don't feel right in my skin?
No, I never
No.
had that. I don't feel right in my skin.
That's amazing.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
I really did. Now, my mother used to chop my bangs to here, and I didn't want to go to school, and I would put tape on them, praying that they would grow overnight. And then, of course, I end up, chopping all my Barbie dolls' hair off one day, which I love Barbie dolls.
That's amazing. I
I
love
have a
Barbie
doll
dolls.
collection.
So that's a great answer. And then my last question, other than getting into where people can find you, because I always say I have one more question and then I've really got 10. If you could tell like 13-year-old Janet something, or 10-year-old Janet, or 6-year-old Janet, and give you as a little girl a piece of advice,
I would
what
have
do you think
said,
would it be?
I would have said, don't stop playing the piano.
Oh,
Don't stop playing the piano.
I thought it was going to be some life existential thing, like
No.
never stop believing in yourself. I love that it's so like tangible and
Yeah. Like, don't do it. Like, just
Yeah.
don't do it.
You know what? I took piano lessons and guitar lessons, but I
Yeah.
was the younger sister, and my sister is truly a musician, and she
Yeah.
was always so good at it because she practiced. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the 10,000 hours. But then I would try it and think like, well, I just suck at this and I
Yeah.
can't do that. And then so I don't think that was what I would have told myself, but I'm with you that I wish I never stopped.
I wish I'd never stopped because we have a beautiful piano and I took piano lessons and my teacher moved to Texas and that's when it kind of all went to hell.
Mhm.
But I was getting good again. Like I was really getting good again. And so that is something, for me right now that I am challenging myself with are my language lessons
Mhm.
and my piano lessons. My desire is to get back into it, but obviously my desire is not that big because I'm procrastinating.
Right. Or maybe the
And I know I
desire
am.
just isn't that big yet. I have another friend who in her 50s took up piano, but the difference is she never had played it as a kid.
Yeah.
I think she did it over concerns of memory because her mother had Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And so she did it and I just her discipline and having a lesson and sticking to it every week instead of
Yeah.
canceling it because she was just as busy as the rest of us.
Yeah.
She just prioritized it enough to do it.
Yes.
And I've done that with language. I get all the Duolingo apps. I'm in France and I minored in French and I think I'm
Yeah.
going to do Duolingo now and I've never done it once.
Yeah.
So I obviously think I'm going to do it and it's just I'm not prioritizing it enough.
It's the prioritizing.
right.
But
But it's on your
blogging
list.
and your
You're
job
thinking about it.
and what I do, it eats up everything.
Yes.
And
I guess
so
it's stretching us. It might not be piano lessons, but we're still learning.
yeah. And then sometimes by the time I sit down, like at 5:36, 6:30, I'm just like, I'm exhausted.
And it is a full-time job what you do.
Yeah,
It is
it
I've
is.
been around you enough to know. And even just the little dabbling for a while, having social media team that would attempt to help me.
Yeah.
And I would just cancel it all the time because I was too busy with design work.
Yeah.
But thinking like it is a really full-time job. So
a
someone
full-time
out there who's trying to dismiss or marginalize like, oh, they're just posting pictures of themselves. No. Like
Yeah.
it is a lot of work.
It's
The
a lot.
video, the edit, the thought process,
Yeah.
the skill set to
Yeah.
not come off as cringy.
Yeah.
of that.
And the writing.
Right, and the
It's like the
writing.
whole writing and coming up
Absolutely, the
with
writing
the
of it.
content and the captions and I mean
Art
the good news is
directing.
I love editing, so it makes it a little easier.
Right. So tell us in closure and wrapping up where the audience can find you. Platforms, all of those things. Where can everybody now who's going to want to follow you or should be following you find you?
Well, I've recently revamped my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I basically take the fashion and other things and I've moved it over to, so if you just in YouTube, Janet Gunn.
Okay. Is it Janet Gunn Grateful Gardenia?
Janet Gunn Grateful
Gunn.
Gardenia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the difference between your YouTube and your TikTok and your Instagram?
Because it's a little, it's funny. It's campy.
Okay.
Like I just really like.
You're harnessing the rodeo
No.
clown relatives.
Yeah. No one does it, So what I do in order to capture certain, the shoes and the jeans and the full, I'm running to the camera and then I'm running back and then I'm running to the camera and then I'm running back. So it's
That's
a
your
lot
workout.
of that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like, okay. let
And
me
you're enjoying it.
adjust. And I'm enjoying it. But again, it's, I haven't posted in about 3 weeks but I love it. It's really fun. It's kind of like I have a lot of interest in that right now
Mhm.
because of the
I
editing.
love that. And
the
I love
editing.
watching physical humor.
Yeah.
And I think it is a really interesting thing to see a beautiful woman engaged in physical humor
Yes.
instead of just silly people in physical humor or a beautiful woman taking herself very seriously. I think it's a brilliant
Well, thank you.
fusion.
Well, I think it's, it's just keeping it real. Trying
Yeah,
to keep it real.
exactly.
But I am having fun with that.
And Instagram is then, so it's still Janet Gunn Grateful Gardenia.
Yeah, still the same.
But that's maybe more, your brands that you're super passionate about and
Yes.
skincare and
Yeah.
tutorials and things like that, right?
Yes, and most of the content on my Instagram page is not paid.
Yeah.
I just have certain brands that I have long-term contracts.
Yeah.
Like 3 and 4 years
Wow.
with people. Because I just believe in the product so much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here
Thank
today.
you.
I
So
feel
kind.
so lucky.
Thank
This was a
you.
great day.
I know. I love
This is my week highlight.
sitting on a couch with you.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode of The Cult of Flair. I'm Stephanie Hunt. If you like what you heard, please share it with a friend. Follow the podcast on whatever platforms you are listening. Follow me on Instagram at The Flairhunter or at The Cult of Flair. And until next time, go find your flair.